No, Ginger, no. Greetings, my friends. Father Leo here. And you may have noticed I'm wearing the clergy shirt and the collar tonight. Well, that's just to remind you I'm a priest. At least that's what I do. It's not who I am. It's what I do. It's my ministry. However, having said that, it's something that evolved very slowly in the church. When it started out, when they gathered for their agape meal, they called it that, not the Mass. When the Christians gathered for their meal, they would just take one of the people there who showed some leadership ability, and they would ask him to preside. So it was a very flexible, open-ended, free-flowing kind of a dynamic that was taking place amongst the early Christians who gathered in small groups, home churches, if you will. And it was only later after the 4th century, when Constantine made the church the official religion of the Roman Empire, the old Protestant hymn, they exchanged the cross for a crown. In other words, we're now part of the political machine. Part of the political machine. And of course became very political as well, and structured itself much like the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire had Caesar at the top. He was in charge completely. Then you had the Senate. Well, the church decided on let's have a pope at the top, and then let's have a curia to assist the pope. And then down the line, obviously they needed people out out where the people were, so they said, let's have bishops. And okay, now you have bishops and a diocese and parishes. But the thing is, a bishop can't look after 50 or 100 parishes. So then they got bishop's assistants, and they called them priests. So the hierarchy became established. You have the one man at the top, the curia, the cardinals and bishops, and the priests, like me, right at the bottom. That's where we fit in. But the reason I'm talking about it tonight is clericalism. Pope Francis has identified clericalism as one of the big problems in the church today, clericalism. And the second thing is, a lot of lay people who would like to see a better church are also claiming we need to get rid of clericalism. Now, clericalism means domination. The church developed a lot of rules. We call them canon law. And of course then, it's the local priest who is to enforce them. But it gives him a lot of authority. So much so that he could either, when people came a knocking at his door, they could either give him God or refuse to give them God. And you have probably heard stories of people, maybe you yourself, who went and knocked on the parish door and said what you needed or what you wanted, and were told, well, no, you can't get it for some reason. So that legalism really became very strong in the church, extremely long. And the Code of Canon Law, which was established in the 19th century, really brought it all together to a head. And I remember when I was in the seminary studying all the different theologies, one of the ones I had to study was canon law. Now, the surprising thing for people who know me, know that I break most of the canon laws. And I often laughed and say, well, one of the reasons I wanted to know them really well was so I know what to break. And I got high marks up in the 90s in my canon law exams. Always did. And so I came out well prepared to think I had the power to rule, to dominate, and to call the shots. I had that authority because I was ordained a priest, and particularly when I became a pastor. I had that, but it didn't really resonate with me. I was not comfortable with it. I was not. And when I stood at the altar in my first Mass, and I was silent for a moment, and I heard a voice within me say, I will put people first. Now, I didn't know what I was saying. Obviously, it came from within me. I guess the Spirit was trying to point me in a certain direction in ministry. But having said that, put people first. Well, I found out very quickly when I get into ministry that I was always coming against canon law or rules or regulations that flowed from power. And so it was power over people, and that power was used to dominate and control people. Now there's the something. On the one hand, Jesus said, I'll set you free, and the church of Jesus is enslaving people. Does that make sense to you? Didn't make sense to me 50 years ago. Didn't make sense. And so I had to make up my mind after a few years of ministry, maybe 5, maybe 10 at the very most, that it didn't fit for me. I would not dominate people. I would not control people. People first, and they were free. And my job was to serve people. And I mean that literally. To serve the people of God was my reason for existing. And I have carried that through for over 3 or 4 years, over 60 years of ministry. So I've carried that forward for at least 50 years. And I'm glad I did. But it's that clericalism is that investing in and accepting the notion of I'm a ruler and I can rule over my parish. I've been given authority by canon law to make the decisions, whether people receive God or don't receive God, do receive pastoral care or don't receive pastoral care. Clericalism, that's what the big Pope calls it, clericalism. And that's what he's striking out against, is clericalism. That authority, that power, that domination, the control of people. And Francis is saying, look, that's not of Jesus. That's not of Jesus. It's going to end. Now, many Catholic lay people see the same thing. And they're writing about getting rid of clericalism. Now, that doesn't mean getting rid of priests. Hopefully, I hope that we have some value to the Christian community. I hope so. I believe it anyway. But it's how we minister to people. If we minister from a position of authority and power over, no, not it. That's not the way of Jesus. And I really speak about that today. It's wrong, totally wrong. Jesus wants the people of God to be free to live their lives from the inside out, not the outside in. And when you're dominated and controlled, You're living life from the outside in. And that's not the way of Jesus. Jesus wanted people to be free to live their life from the inside out. And they have their own conscience to make their own decisions, take their own responsibility for their spiritual life. So it's a big shift here, a big shift away from the clericalism, which is that authority and power over and control. That's got to end. Now we know, we're not that naive that we don't know. A lot of the clergy, priests, they don't want to give it up. It's pretty nice. They can play the role of King Tut, you know, and they like it. So they're not going to give it up willingly. Bishops have their kingdom, the diocese. And they are generally simply administrators. But it's still a good life. Cardinals, it's just an honorary title, but it sort of adds another red robe to them, I guess. Or another pair of red shoes, I'm not sure which. And so the Curia, well, they're a real resistance group. A resistance group to any change. So I don't know how we'll get rid of clericalism. I don't know. Because clergy must see the way of Jesus. And Jesus called clergy good shepherds, which means shepherds minister to people. People first, and not legalism. And so I don't know how that's going to happen, because nobody's going to give that up, that comfortable life, authority and power. Nobody's going to give it up willingly. No. So I don't know. Now the flip side of that whole thing, of course, is the lay people. You, the lay people, have got to start growing up, becoming more mature. Trust yourself. When you think you've got a better idea on what the church should be, could be, might be, then go for it. Don't stand around waiting for permission. You're never going to get it. But if enough people in a parish were to get together and confront and challenge the pastor and tell him, here's the kind of a church we want this parish to be. I remember years ago, there was a pastor who was really authoritarian, using his power to run a parish where the only person that had any authority was himself, no parish council. And I remember one of the members of the parish phoned me, said, what can we do? Well, I said, being an old pastor, I know that on Sunday, our big interest in the whole thing is, on Monday morning, we'd ask the secretary every week, what was the collection like? You know, you always knew you were an ordained priest if you asked about the collection. So we'd ask about the collection. And if the collection was up, okay. If the collection was down, not good. I have to get after the people and tell them, come on, cough up more money. So what I said to this person was, look, get your people together and tell them very simply, we will open a bank account at the bank and we will put our Sunday offerings in that account. And when we get a new pastor, we'll then free up that account for the parish. Yeah. So the parish will get it, not yet. And they did. And within 6 months, the pastor was transferred. Very easy. Now, I don't like that. Maybe I shouldn't have told them. I should have said, get together and make placards and protest in front of the rectory. Shout out, we shall overcome. Some kind of protest song. But really show that, hey, it's our parish. It's not the pastor's. When I was assigned to another parish, I always said, you're the parish, not me. I'll be here for a few years and then I'll be moving on. So I'm here to serve you for 5 or 6 years and then I move on. Someone else. So it's your parish and you have the power. Actually, you have the power if you will take it and own it and stand up with it. You disempower clericalism. When lay people exercise their duty to confront and challenge, then they will stand up and protest. And if necessary, they'll withhold their collection. And every pastor knows the bills will come in. We got to pay them. If we don't pay them, we're in big trouble. So really the lay people have all the power, but they've been brainwashed. Lady have been brainwashed to think that they don't. And so that's why I'm talking this way tonight. You've got to, as lay people, start to exercise your power that comes out of your baptism. Your baptism has given you the authority. Given you the authority to shape a parish that is a faith-filled, spirit-filled community. And it's up to you. Don't complain about the priest. Don't complain about the church. Don't quit the church because you're fed up. That does nobody any good at all. But that's the weakness of a community when people have been brainwashed. Then the brainwashed people generally walk away from any kind of confrontation or challenge. But that's immaturity. That is very immature way to deal with a problem. And so what I'm saying to you today, clericalism, yes, it has to go. It has to go if the church is going to survive. And the other thing I have to say to you is very few men will give up their authority, their power, their desire, their need to control. But the thing is, there's only one man in a parish. And if the parishioners stand up, take a stand, and say, we want a parish like this, and either give it to us, or we'll starve you to death. That'll get his attention. Yeah, that'll get his attention. But until the lay people convince themselves that they have the power of rising out of their baptism to be the body of Christ who stands up and challenges and confronts the pastor, things are not going to get any better. But if lay people will do that, then they can transform the church in 5 years. Can transform it in 5 years. Be a whole different kind of Christianity that would be lived in that parish. And that's what I'm saying tonight. So I'm begging, I'm hoping to inspire lay people to say, Leah, it's our parish. We know what we need to nurture our spirituality. We know. And we want that in our parish here. And we're demanding it. And somebody says, well, who are you to demand it? You say, we are the body of Christ. Pretty simple, eh? Pretty simple. We are the body of Christ. And go ahead. So I would encourage lay people to please allow the Spirit to inspire you to convert the church, to dismantle clericalism, and allow yourself to have the power to shape the life of your parish. God bless and good luck.